Headlines, highlights, the questions burning up the sports world get answered right here. This isn't just another recap, it's the sports answer. And leading the charge, sharp, fearless, and always bringing the edge, your host, Rudy Campos Jr. If you're talking sports, you better have the sports answer.
Good Sunday, Sports Answer fans. Rudy Campos Jr., of course, here at the Sports Answer, part of Answer Now TV on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and also shout out to our sponsor, Salem Surround, 210-526-3635, salemsurround.com/San Antonio. You need that brand to just start taking off, being the best brand in the business. There's only one number to call, 210-526-3635. That is Salem Surround. They're going to get your marketing needs done, advertising. They're going to help you with the website. They're going to do everything you need done to get everything accomplished so your brand, your company can just be Pro Bowl guaranteed, not just put in there like Shedeur Sanders, which we'll get into in a little bit here. They're guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer. Sorry, Bill Belichick. That is Salem Surround, 210-526-3635. Proud sponsors of the Sports Answer. What do we got today? So we've got, obviously, Super Bowl coming up. We're going to do a better show later on, more in-depth show later on in the week here for the Sports Answer. And it's just going to be a Super Bowl show for the Sports Answer. But we're going to get into couple of the betting lines out as of right now. You know, Seahawks are favored, the over and under. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Get a little bit of insight on Super Bowl 60 between the Seahawks and the Patriots. Also, as mentioned, Pro Bowl, Shedeur Sanders was selected as a Pro Bowl replacement. Why that doesn't sit well with me and a lot of other people as well. NBA trade deadline, February 5th is the trade deadline at 2 p.m. Eastern. What deals can be made? That's also part of our Spurs Cheeseman. One player in particular has been a part of a lot of, I guess, rumors when it comes to trade talk. We'll see if the Spurs make any type of move. Also, your sports question of the week revolves around the Dallas Cowboys in the offseason. Don't forget, us here at the Sports Answer, we're going to be providing some in-depth look at the NFL draft, the NFL offseason. Also, we will do it for the NBA as well. But for NFL-wise, NFL draft is coming up. Can the Cowboys make a splash in the NFL draft? They have 2 first-round picks. My answer to the sports question today, the fan sports question, kind of revolves around those picks. So we'll get into that here a little later. Again, shout out to Salem Surround, 210-526-3635. Shout out to St. John Paul II High School. You guys are seeing a lot of clips from them. We are following them this season on their way to hopefully getting a state championship here. St. John Paul II, shout out to them. They won another game recently. You can catch that on the Sports Answer on one of the shorts that we have for video as well. So shout out to them as well. As per mentioned, we are going to talk here Super Bowl 60 between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Drake May, Sam Darnold. Now, I was saying, I was hoping to get the Rams against the Patriots. That would have my MVPs. For those of y'all that are following, my 2 MVPs so far have been Drake May and Matthew Stafford. I think since Drake May got to the Super Bowl, I truly believe that he deserves a little bit of the nod. But apparently, we all know voting comes in early, or so they say it comes in early. I still think Matthew Stafford does come away with 8 MVP this season, but Drake May has been playing MVP football nonetheless. I mean, he's literally put this team on his back. He's gotten it done. Of course, he's been making a few mistakes, but hey, you know what? This kid is in his second year in the league and already proving that he's going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, doing it right now, getting to Super Bowl. Will a Super Bowl win over the Seahawks just kind of cement his, already quarterback status in year 2 with the Patriots? I mean, you saw early success with Tom Brady. You saw early success with Patrick Mahomes. Is Drake May along that line of quarterbacks? I think so. I mean, you look at both sides of the ball. Does he have a receiver like Sam Darnold has in Jackson Smith and Jigba? He doesn't. I mean, Stephon Diggs is, ideally his number 1 wide receiver and his best wide receiver. So nod goes to Seattle when it comes to receiving corps. He got the better receiver. The better quarterback, obviously, is Drake May between the 2 quarterbacks. To me, Sam Darnold has been getting it done, but it's been more on the defensive side. It's been more of running the ball. Kenneth Walker Jr. in these playoffs has been elite, has been making a lot of people eat their words as to say, well, I think Zach Charbonnet is probably the best running back in the locker room. And I kind of agree with it. When Charbonnet was drafted by the Seahawks, I said he's probably going to end up being their starter before it's all said and done. Kenneth Walker is making myself and other people eat their words as he is becoming the true elite number one running back for Seattle right now. Can he continue that pace? Against the Patriots, you got to look at both sides of this ball, man. Defensively, nod goes to Seattle, but we cannot underestimate the New England Patriots. They do have a good defense. Mike Vrabel has built a very balanced and well-balanced team in New England. Personally, I think the Patriots, who are, I believe, 3.5-point underdogs, I think they've got a real fighting chance against the Seattle Seahawks. I know a lot of people go back to, past Super Bowl where you should have run the ball, Pete Carroll, thinking the Seahawks are going to get their revenge on the New England Patriots. I said before, the winner of the Seattle Rams game is going to be your Super Bowl champion. After consideration, I'm kind of thinking that it may be a lot closer than just that. I think Drake May is on a mission. I think the New England Patriots are built for this exact game. I think I have more questions with Sam Darnold than I do with Drake May. I think the Patriots have shown all season why they are the best team or one of the best teams in the league, especially in the AFC. Seattle, they've been on a run. And it happened, middle part of the season is when you started to see Seattle really go on a big run. What do you guys think? Is it going to be Seattle just continuing the domination? Is it going to be New England showing why they deserve to be in the Super Bowl? We're going to get that pick later on in our in-depth Super Bowl show. Super Bowl 60 comes to you next Sunday. Who do you guys have? Seahawks, Patriots. Get those comments in. Get those questions in. We'll answer them. Those burning sports questions. We'll give you those sports answers here on the Sports Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround 210-526-3635. Call them today. We got the lines up as well. So as of right now, the Seahawks, again, as we mentioned, 3.5 favorites over the Patriots. The over and under is 46.5. So you're talking a 23-24 type game. I can definitely see that. I think this game is going to be, from what I can feel from this game, and I'm taking, the Denver and New England game in the snow. I mean, it's not going to be in the snow. It's not going to have any type of weather problems like that or anything like that, weather issues. I feel like I'm going to take the over at 46.5. I think we're going to see probably that 28-24 type of, game right now. I think, I'm going to take the over. I think it gets to above, both teams to get to above at least 24. So I think I'm going to end up taking the over on this game. Seahawks 3.5 favorites. Again, my prediction right now is that New England actually covers that. I think I would go with the underdog with the Patriots. I just love how they're playing right now. I love the fact that this is a well-balanced team. Seahawks are favored. I understand why they are favored. I mean, again, they've got the better defense. They've got, probably the better running game right now, even though I love what New England does on the ground as well with Ramondre and Trayvon. Maybe you look at New England as saying the only real advantage you have is Drake May right now. It's the biggest game of the year for both teams. It's the biggest game of the year for any NFL franchise. A lot can be said about both of these teams. A lot of people expected, the Eagles to just, lose to the Chiefs. Mahomes magic. We've seen a lot of different things happen. We've seen crazy Super Bowls. Tennessee and the Rams. I mean, we've seen a lot of crazy Super Bowls, especially recently. I feel New England doesn't get enough respect going into the Super Bowl. So that's why I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take the 3.5. I'm taking New England. And as of right now, like I said, I think I'm going to take the Patriots to win from what I see. And I'm also taking the over at 46.5. Those are my line bets right there. That's what I'm looking at. What do you guys feel out there in Sports Answer Nation? Are you taking Seattle, giving away the points? Or are you taking New England and the points? What is your over and under at? Again, more Super Bowl 60 coverage this week here on the Sports Answer as we're going to do an in-depth show for Super Bowl 60. We'll also bring you some prop bets as well. We'll bring you some more. If the lines change, we'll go with the lines as well. We'll give you some player analysis. We'll do everything we can in that 30-minute Sports Answer show, which is going to be a Super Bowl 60 special show here on the Sports Answer. Pro Bowl. I don't get why they announced Shador Sanders as a Pro Bowl replacement for Drake May, who obviously is in the Super Bowl. You have, you got to do better than this, man. I mean, they announced this week that Shador Sanders is a Pro Bowl player and he's a replacement, so he's in. Let's not mention here, the fact that Trevor Lawrence, maybe even Justin Herbert. I mean, hell, I'm going to give you another player in a minute that I think deserves it more than Shador Sanders, who plays in the AFC, if you're going to go this route. But are we completely done with the Pro Bowl now? I mean, it's gotten bad over the years. It's gotten almost unwatchable, and that says a lot because the NBA All-Star game is definitely unwatchable. That became unwatchable years back. But the Pro Bowl, it's getting pretty bad as well. I really feel the only two All-Star games worth watching are MLB, which I absolutely love the MLB All-Star game. I have since I was a kid. In the NHL. Those are the only two All-Star games that are worth anything when it comes to watching. I used to love watching the Pro Bowl when it was in Hawaii as a kid. These guys played for something. For those y'all that remember Sean Taylor, rest in peace. His hit in the Pro Bowl, I mean, you can't forget that. It mattered to players. I remember in the 80s and 90s, maybe the early 2000s, NBA, you would watch the All-Star game. They competed. They competed as if this title of All-Star game winning team meant something to them. They all competed for that All-Star game MVP. The likes of Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird in the 80s. Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal, where Shaq is dunking over David Robinson at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Everybody competed in these All-Star games back in the day. But now the Pro Bowl, which already was considered to be a joke for the past few years, became even more comical this year. You have a quarterback who has a quarterback rating of 18.9. Started, I believe it was 7 games on the season. You could have easily gone with a player like Geno Smith, who's ranked higher in the AFC than Shador Sanders. I get it. Maybe Trevor Lawrence, maybe Herbert, maybe a couple of these guys just didn't want to play in the Pro Bowl. They declined it. Says, it's okay. I want my weekend off. I completely understand that. And I mentioned Geno Smith not as a player that I would have replaced Drake May with, but again, a player that ranked higher. Before I get into my player who should have been in the Pro Bowl over Shador Sanders, Tom Pelissero does mention that, and I'm reading it right here for you guys. Pro Bowl games are determined by the consensus votes of fans, players, and coaches, with each group counting 1/3 determining the all-star players. So then the final fan voting, Shador was not even in the top 10 at that position. Explain to me how Shador Sanders got into the Pro Bowl. Was everybody just not wanting to play? If that is the case, then fine. 100%. Hey, you are our absolute last option. You're in. But there is one guy who I felt could be probably in there. why not, I mean, do we dare overlook, again, Geno Smith? I mean, I'm joking when I say that. I really am joking when I say Geno Smith. But there are other players out there, man. I mean, again, barring injury, barring anything, you've got Cam Ward out there. I mean, you've got, a whole bunch of stuff like that. I know Cam Ward is on the injury report, but again, you've got other players that are out there that could have easily taken over, for Shedeur Sanders. But again, I'm not bashing the guy for making the Pro Bowl. I think I'm bashing more of the selection because no one has ever come out and said, hey, this is the reason why Shedor's there. You cannot convince NFL fans that the reason why he's there is because he put up gaudy numbers. No, you can't convince me or anybody like that. Quarterback rating of 18.9. Come on, Pro Bowl. You got to do better than this. I mean, Jared Stidham probably would have been worth it right now at this point. But nonetheless, he does get the nod in the Pro Bowl. Shedeur Sanders. Before we take our first commercial break, I do want to go on a little talk right here to the NFL Hall of Fame coming out and Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer. As much as the Pro Bowl has become a joke, the NFL Hall of Fame jokingly became bad this week as well. How is it that Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer? Most wins in the postseason. I think third all-time in wins. Tons of Super Bowls. The all-time greatest coach in NFL history is not a Hall of Famer. The writers who didn't vote for Bill Belichick, shame on you. Shame on you. I thought the MLB writers were terrible. Congratulations, NFL writers. Y'all are just as bad for this. MLB wants to keep guys out like Barry Bonds because, he allegedly did steroids. But yet you've got players like David Ortiz and other guys in the Hall of Fame who have been proven to do steroids. Now the NFL, you guys don't want to put Bill Belichick in. Why? Because, Spygate, Deflategate, this and that. You really are going to hold that against him. My recommendation for MLB, because the MLB is the toughest Hall of Fame to get in, also for the NFL writers now, if you keep doing this and you keep going down this route, replace these old writers with new guys. Take these votes away from a lot of these people. It's comical. It's dumb. It's horrible to know players and now a coach, a greatest of all time coach in any sport. He ranks up there. Cannot get into the Hall of Fame as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Shame on you, NFL writers, for doing that. You're making this a complete joke. Now, he will get in next season. There's no doubt about that. And if he doesn't, fire them all. Get rid of everybody. This is the Sports Answer. Salem Surround 210-526-3635. SalemSurround.com/San Antonio for all your marketing needs. When we get back, it is NBA talk. It's Spurs Cheeseman and your NFL question or Sports Answer question of the week, which is NFL based around the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be back.
In San Antonio, your business deserves more than noise. It deserves to be seen. SEO, social media, digital ads. If you're not showing up, you're losing customers. At Salem Surround San Antonio, we design digital strategies that work, from web design and SEO to social, podcast, and display ads. Real tools. Real results. Let's amplify your brand. Start today with a free digital presence evaluation. Salem Surround San Antonio, your brand, everywhere it matters.
So, like, I hear about the Spurs this y Spurs that, y como que esto y esta, pero I never hear about the real Spurs chisme. Nine, por favor.
All right, guys, welcome to the Spurs Cheesemith segment of the Sports Answer, brought to you by Salem Surround 210-526-3635. And of course, the Cheesemith has been around one Jeremy Sohan. Trade deadline is going to be this Thursday, I believe it. Yeah, Thursday, February 5th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So where do we go from here? Now, Jeremy's been rumored to go to the Knicks. Obviously, the Knicks really want Jeremy Sohan, but they want to really give away, Yabusele to the Spurs, and they have another couple of players in mind, but the Spurs do not want Yabusele's contract. I think it's 5.8 for the player option. They don't want to carry that contract over. It's almost as if they want to get rid of the salary and not have any salary come back after this season. So the idea behind it is they're probably going to have to give the Spurs a more lucrative type of deal. And that's something that we've talked about here on the Sports Answer is I think Jeremy can still get to the Knicks if the Knicks really want him, but it's going to have to be a 3-player or 3-team type of deal where the Spurs get some good consideration, some good, players or maybe, draft picks in return. And Jeremy will go to the Knicks, and obviously the Knicks will have that third team they're dealing with. The ideal one we talked about was Giannis going to the Knicks, Jeremy going to the Knicks, Spurs getting a player. We mentioned OG Anunoby in return for the Spurs, which again, I think Anunoby would make a lot of sense in San Antonio, but that's just an idea that we had played with here at the Sports Answer. And my question for you guys out there is, will Jeremy get moved? I want to say that he will. There's a couple of teams, Charlotte, Chicago, the Knicks, and I think the Lakers and Suns are the 5 teams that were mentioned interested in Jeremy Sohan. I don't really feel the Spurs will trade Jeremy to the Lakers or Suns. They're Western Conference teams. They're teams that are competing for a playoff spot. So, again, I think he goes more out east. The Chicago deal that I like, that I messed around with and looked at was, Jeremy and Kelly Olynyk in exchange for Kevin Huerter. That gives the Spurs another sharpshooter from the outside, something that they are really missing and desperately needing. The Charlotte Hornet deal, I personally like Jeremy in Charlotte. Charlotte's kind of building something really good there. They've been on a run. They most recently beat San Antonio yesterday. So, they've got something cooking over in Charlotte. And I wouldn't mind a Jeremy Sohan for Tijan Saloon type deal in Charlotte, for Charlotte and the Spurs. I look at Tijan Saloon as a player that is still developing, that I think under the Spurs coaching staff could really bring out his potential. He can shoot the ball. He can score. He's just kind of all over the place. And I think the Spurs coaching staff could do a really good job with a player like Tijan Saloon. So those are my 3 ideal moves for Jeremy. If he doesn't get moved, then you're looking at the potential of him not being back with the Spurs. They didn't give him that contract extension in the offseason. So that kind of shows you the writing on the wall that he may not be a Spur beyond this season. So that's our Spurs Cheeseman. What do you guys think? Do you think that Jeremy Sohan will be traded before the deadline, or will he be brought back and then probably let go in the offseason? So that's our Spurs Cheeseman for you guys out there. And of course, we've had a NBA trade that just recently happened between the Cavaliers and the Kings. The Cleveland Cavaliers traded DeAndre Hunter to the Sacramento Kings for Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. Makes sense for the Kings. I mean, they get a really good two-way player in DeAndre Hunter, but more so for the Cleveland Cavaliers, getting that backcourt help with Dennis Schroeder, who tends to be going to team after team after team, but he does make a difference for a lot of teams that he goes to. And I like the addition of Keon Ellis for the Cleveland Cavaliers. As mentioned, the trade deadline approaching February 5th. Two of the biggest names, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Ja Morant. You've also got other names mentioned, maybe Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, part of the Kings as well. LaMelo Ball's been mentioned in a couple of deals as well, like in a couple of ideas as well. There's some big names. Karl Anthony Towns is also another name that could potentially be moved. Jaren Jackson Jr., part of Memphis as well. There's a lot of big names that could be moved. The question we always come to is, will they be moved? I think Giannis played his last game in Milwaukee, very recently. So I think he will get moved by February 5th. The only question we have is where to. The Spurs have come out and said they are completely out of the Giannis deal for him coming to San Antonio, but that does not mean they wouldn't be a third team to help facilitate a Giannis Antetokounmpo type of deal. I could potentially see Giannis again as a Knick. I could see him maybe in Miami. If he were to go to the Knicks, there would be a third team that needs to be in there because of contracts, but also mainly because the Knicks do not have any draft picks. They lost a lot of them to the Mikal Bridges, deal. So I could see the Spurs maybe doing that. They have a ton of picks. Oklahoma City is the one team that if I'm the Spurs, I'm watching very closely. I don't want them involved in a lot of big name deals because they will tend to get players that'll help put them over the top and over everybody else in the NBA, including San Antonio. Will Giannis be moved? Will Ja Morant be moved? Those are the biggest sports questions that we've got right now heading into the sports deadline on the trade deadline for February 5th. If we get a good amount of traction, we will do a sports answer special on the NBA trade deadline, February 5th. So we will kind of be with you guys monitoring the situation. Any types of moves, we'll give you guys some reaction as well. Again, February 5th is the trade deadline. So what do you guys think? Will there be any moves made on the trade deadline? Will we see any big name moves be moved? We'll find out here on Thursday, February 5th. As the NBA trade deadline appears very quickly. And of course, we've got our sports answer question of the week. If you guys want to get your sports answer questions in, be sure to drop them on the comments, for the show here. You can drop them on any show. We go in there. We're getting a lot of the questions that you guys are asking. We love it. We love it. We keep them coming in. Today's sports question comes from Dan G of San Antonio, Texas. Hey, appreciate you listening to the show. What moves would you make for the Cowboys to be a real contender this season? So that's a good one. That's a really good one there because I've messed around with a lot of the Cowboy stuff. And I really feel that, excuse me, got a little cold here. I really feel that they have the potential to make a big splash come draft time and also in free agency. So the question is do they bring back George Pickens? At the amount of money George Pickens is probably going to want, I don't know if the Cowboys would be willing to pay him that much money without restructuring a whole bunch of deals. You've also got the running back, room that you've got to look at. I believe in any running back outside of Javonte Williams as being a prime back in that backfield. So will they bring back Javonte Williams? He did really good this season to where he's probably going to get a decent contract somewhere else. So I think in free agency, they can find a lot of good players to bring in possibly at, a cheaper rate. Do they restructure some other contracts? Could they possibly restructure Dak's deal again? Could they maybe talk to CD and try to restructure that contract? There's a lot of things they can do that they should do. I really feel bringing back George Pickens would be a big priority. I think that gives you that 1-2 running, that wide receiver, one on the outside. I like what they've done. They need to bolster up the offensive line. Running back room, I feel they can really get out there and get a running back in free agency somewhere, possibly draft a running back. There are some really good running backs available in this draft. Again, NBA or NFL draft coverage, we'll bring that to you here on the Sports Answer. But Cowboys, this is a proposed deal that I was able to work up. And again, this is just a proposal. I think if I'm the Cowboys, I'm doing as much as I can to make this happen. I would give up the 2026 first round pick for the Cowboys, their pick right there, which is going to be the higher of the Green Bay pick. So they would still have a first round pick this season. Give up this year's 2026 fourth round pick, Green Bay's 2027 first round pick, Pittsburgh's 2027 sixth round pick. Also, you're going to add more picks in there. These are just the four that I felt, okay, we can work with right now. And you also maybe put a player in there as well. I've heard maybe things, and maybe I was thinking maybe like Sam Williams as well, somewhere in there. You make that trade to the Raiders for Max Crosby. Now the Raiders have the number 1 pick. So this would give the Raiders 2 first-round picks this coming season. And I really feel the Raiders can do a whole lot in this draft, and they can make a huge splash, which we're going to do another NFL draft coverage or another draft show for the Raiders, because I had some questions regarding the Raiders. But nonetheless, trading Max Crosby to the Dallas Cowboys, and of course, there you would get the Cowboys 2026 first-round pick. So they'd have 2 picks, they'd have the number 1 pick, obviously. Then they'd have the Cowboys pick this coming NFL draft as well. So they can easily turn that first pick in the draft into additional picks in that first round, get 3, possibly 4 massively, massively great players to help their rebuild right away to go along with Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. I know Raider fans are saying, we want Fernando Mendoza. Raider fans, I truly understand that. But if you're going to be bad this year with Fernando Mendoza, be bad without him. I will say that. You don't need Fernando Mendoza this season. Build everywhere you can around this draft. Make deals left and right. Get a bunch of players, because next year's 2027 NFL quarterback draft class, that's where you want to have a top pick. There's going to be a ton of great quarterbacks in that 2027 class. But for Dan G in San Antonio, this is the deal that I would make. This would catapult the Cowboys into that contender list. One deal would be getting Max Crosby in a trade with the Raiders. Then, of course, you have that Green Bay pick as well. Get another solid pick there. You can re-sign. You can maybe restructure some contracts. Get George Pickens signed. Go get an NFL, running back in the offseason. But you mainly want to build the offensive line as well. So this would catapult them on the defensive side. Gives them the player that they would be missing out of Micah Parsons as well, who was traded to Green Bay. This would really give their defensive line a massive, massive boost. So, again, that is my answer to the sports question from Dan G. And, again, if you want to submit your sports questions so we can answer it on the next show, be sure to drop the comment on this show or any other show. Drop the questions on there. We will gladly get to them. And we love you guys asking these sports questions, those burning sports questions, because why? We give you the best sports answers. Again, appreciate everybody joining us here today for the Sports Answer. Salem Surround, 210-526-3635, salemsurround.com/San Antonio. They will make you the number 1 brand in all of San Antonio, and they are guaranteed to help you become the best brand. Call them today, 210-526-3635 for Salem Surround. Again, proud sponsors of us here at the Sports Answer. So for everybody here at the Sports Answer, you guys enjoy or try to enjoy today's Pro Bowl. Spurs game has been moved to 6 p.m. today instead of 1 o'clock. They got snowed in Charlotte. They should be playing a very late game today against Orlando in San Antonio. So again, Spurs and Magic tonight did get moved to 6 p.m. Eastern, or 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. local time in San Antonio. So again, for everybody at the Sports Answer, be sure to go to Answer Now TV, hit that subscribe button. So that way, when you have the burning sports questions, we give you those sports answers. See you guys next week.
You've been listening to The Sports Answer with Rudy Campos Jr. Today's show was brought to you by Salem Surround San Antonio, helping local businesses grow with digital strategies that work. Visit salemsurround.com/San Antonio to learn more. We'll see you next time on The Sports Answer.